Oh, hi there. It's me, Football Man. You may recognize me from such educational PSAs as Touchdown Puberty and First and 10 years old and I'm still wetting myself. And that's okay. I'm here to talk to you about diversity in football. Now, I know it's a tough subject. I know a lot of you out there are racist. But listen, diversity is a good thing. We can have black football players, black coaches, women coaches, Latino coaches, so many different types of coaches. Ooh, so many good flavors. I love eating them up. It sounds like I lost a through line, and I did. But listen, I'm not here to teach you about your body parts. I'm here to teach you about diversity. Colors are great. Play football, watch football. All the colors are good. Listen, this PSA has gone off the rail. I'm going to go back to scoring touchdowns. Let's do this. Dun, 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 dun.
It's news time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White.
Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the football is over news that you probably already knew about. By now, you've already seen the big game copyright and heard discussion after discussion on how Tom Brady is a farm animal and Patrick Mahomes was 6 when Brady won his first championship, blah, blah, blah. It's boilerplate sports talk. And that's also the name of my new ESPN Plus show where I cover the basics of sports, but also lots of yelling happens. What I want to cover is this new venture inside the NFL, diversity. No, wait, don't click away. It'll be passable, trust me. You'll share it at least once. Now, come on, please. I need just one share. The NFL has struggled with the message of inclusion. While it's predominantly a sport played by black men, their bosses and their bosses' bosses are 99.99998% white. Now, I know this sounds familiar, and yes, slavery. Just look at how Jerry Jones refers to the Dallas Cowboys as his boys, and not in a father-son way. Not in the way he says it. Football has a strange relationship with diversity. So strange that there was a rule created to enforce it. It hasn't really worked, but whatever. It's called the Rooney Rule. Similar to affirmative action, the Rooney Rule says teams must interview a varied pool of candidates for the head coaching position, though teams are not forced to hire them. It's like when your parents forced you to play with a kid because they were friends with his parents. No, I don't want to play with Jared. His toys suck, and he's always wanting to go in the closet and touch wieners. Further similar to affirmative action, it doesn't work. The 2003 rule came about after the firings of Tony Dungy and Dennis Green from Tampa Bay and Minnesota, respectively. Notably, the rule is mostly ignored. As recently as 2019, there were 8 teams looking for head coaches, yet only the Miami Dolphins hired a black coach. The Rooney Rule application seems to vary from team to team, but the NFL has started to take it more seriously, probably due to the growing spate of vocal activists in and around sports. In May of last year, the NFL announced what were to be wide-sweeping workplace reforms. Commissioner Roger Goodell acknowledged the lack of diversity in the coaching ranks, particularly from the last 2 years, but this has obviously been an issue since he took the reins, and probably since before then. Here's Goodell talking to Robin Roberts during the press for Super Bowl 50 in 2016.
We want to make sure that when we have an opening, we're going to make sure we not only have a diverse slate of candidates, but we also have women that we believe can do this job and give them the opportunity.
With the Rooney Rule, we've seen there are now 5 African-American coaches, 1 Latino, Coach Rivera,
in the Super Bowl,
who's here in the Super Bowl. And some wonder, while it is absolutely progress, is there more to make sure that what you're hoping, that there could be more impact, that the results could be even better?
I always think diversity is still an issue, that we're not finished, we're not done, and so much of what we do is incomplete. So we're going to continue to make progress here.
Goodell outright saying the NFL is not done with diversity is like me saying I'm not done with news time. Sure, I do it every week, but is my heart really in it? These new rules are set to cover women too as they get their chances in the NFL office positions. For instance, this season's Tampa Bay Buccaneers employed the most diverse group of people in the sports history, and probably in sports history. 4 black coaches in all 4 coordinator positions, as well as 2 women in assistant coaching positions, helped lead the Bucs to a dominant season. You can all say it was Brady, but Mar-a-Lago's second son definitely needed help from those around him. And the reason why this came to fruition is because head coach Bruce Arians put it on the top of his list, right after put on a hat for every picture I take, even if it's a formal event, and right before Gorilla Glue for goatee. Arians' move is bigger than we've ever seen. In the 2020 Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers' own Kate Sowers was the first woman to coach for the big game. She'd made strides during her first 4 years with the team. However, it was sad when she announced she wouldn't be returning next season, seeking an expanded role with another team. So far, that hasn't come into fruition, but now is the right time for teams looking for women to join their coaching staff. So, get to hiring, baby. As we enter the offseason, early as it may be, the diversity question sits atop everyone's minds. Is it going to be possible to enforce a rule more heavily when issues like race and gender are pushed to the forefront of not just sports, but the world around us? The answer isn't so clear. While we did manage to get a female referee for the first time in the big game, teams still struggle with the idea of hiring non-whites and non-males. Again, it's early, but everyone knows you have to start off strong and taper off towards the end. That's how I got through college. The hiring of coaches of color so far this year is following a cycle we've seen, but general managers of color hiring has doubled this year by 2. Both Atlanta and Detroit picked Terry Fentano and Brad Holmes to lead their offices. A small step forward, but a step forward nonetheless. Rod Graves, head of the Fritz Pollard Alliance, an organization dedicated to championing diversity in the NFL, cites the number one reason as to why he lost his optimism for the offseason hiring. It's not the numbers of interviews, it's the lack of leadership positions available. Other NFL insiders agree. Hell, I'm sure the football would agree if we didn't already scoop it up from the farm, use its delicious meats for sustenance, and proceed to kick and throw its supple remains. A lot of you think I'm referring to pigs, but actually it's cowhide. I had to Google that because I'm dumb. How do you fix a problem like diversity? 538's Perry Bacon Jr. and Neil Payne suggest losing the nepotism attitude, being open to older coaches and second chances, which a lot of these white coaches get. See Mike McCarthy, whose first season with the Dallas Cowboys after being fired from the Green Bay Packers can only be described as There's no one answer. The NFL just has to start taking necessary steps in order to have diverse ranks. Following the Rooney Rule is important. Enforcing it is even better. But it's up to NFL insiders, players, coaches, and even you, the viewer, to be vocal about this. We can't just flip a coin and choose sides, but we can defer racism. And that's how I'm choosing to end this episode. Speaking of things you shouldn't defer, why don't you not defer subscribing and checking out one of our other videos? Of course, you can head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where you can't defer all of the great interviews that I have with your favorite comedians. You also cannot defer following us on Twitter and Instagram at cpluscomedy, following me on Instagram and Twitter at ChadBlackWhite, not deferring liking us on Facebook, and not deferring listening to the Constitutionals podcast, literally wherever you get your podcasts. And oh crap, it was tails. I meant to choose kick. God dang it.